Hey y'all, so everybody's been asking me about this dive compressor I built. So here it is. It's not too complicated, but don't try this at home because it could kill you. As everything in the world, I highly don't recommend you building this, but I built one. And if you want to see how I do it, this is it. I'm just going to go over it real quick. The biggest part that I find important, that is an oil-less compressor. There's no oil in the compressor. Number two is we have a filter in line right there for the splitter for the hoses, and that filter takes all the sediment and moisture, any contaminants out of the air going into the lines, and then it goes to a splitter. The next most important thing is where the flag's at. See that hose? That's a snorkel. It has a filter on top of it also, but what is important about it is it moves the intake for the air compressor away from the exhaust. So see if I can get a better picture of it. That right there is the compressor. The intake on the other side of this used to be right here, but I put a pipe on it and I brought it up and far away from the exhaust here of the gas engine. So the gas engine runs here, the intake for the air compressor's up there, and it has a filter on the top of it to keep debris from getting into the air compressor, which again is oilless. Then it travels through these tanks, okay, and it comes out here to the splitter, and before the splitter I have an inline micron filter that will remove sediment, rust, debris, and moisture out of the system. All right, that's cheap. Just change them, I'd say at least once a season, just to make sure you got clean air going through. Okay, I put it through the splitter here. The next big thing that everybody does is you're supposed to use food safe lines. Now, I went the cheap way the first time building. I have built another one of these with my buddy. I just got PVC airlines. They're probably toxic and will kill you and everything else. They're 100 foot. So when I put them on the splitter, we almost have a 200 foot range away from this compressor. All right. And you see I spliced in the regulators on the end of the 100 foot lines. And then I put a tie wrap there, and I put the tie wrap on my weight belt so the regulator doesn't pull in my mouth while I'm diving. All right. And then the next big thing that I did is I come over here after every dive and I loosen these up and I make sure there's no moisture in these tanks. See a little bit of dew coming out of there? You don't want that getting into your air supply, okay? Now, what the commercial brands do is they don't use air tanks. And where this goes in right here, see the lines down there, where the air comes off of the compressor, you just put a connection fitting on it right here, just like that. And you can remove this engine and this compressor off of the air tanks, and you don't have to run the air through the air tanks. And I would probably recommend that if you do it, because you do have a chance of getting, some sediment or rust out of these tanks. Okay? Like I'm doing down there, I bleed them every time to make sure I get any moisture or sediment out of the tanks. So, there's some safety concerns. That's why I don't recommend that you do this. Definitely could result in health hazards or death, but it is an interesting project that I took on. Now, how do I float it? I floated it a bunch of different ways, but what I found is just a regular old towable that you throw the kids on. Works great. And what I'll do is I actually throw a milk crate or a small bucket in the center of the towable, and then I bungee strap it to the handles, and it stays in there great. And when I run the airlines through here and do a loop with them, so it's pulling on this rather than pulling on the splitter on the air compressor. Also, the cool thing about the towable is it's a towable. So when I set it up or I'm going to a new spot, I just tie it off to the cleat and I drag it with me just as if I was dragging a towable. So it's kind of a universal thing. And then after lobster season's done, you can, go out with the family and have fun with it. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a nice once over. If you do it, I don't recommend that you do. Like I said, could kill you. But if you do, one thing you might want to do is maybe bypass the air tanks. Okay. If you don't, I can't recommend it because it could kill you. But, very important that you snorkel the intake away from the exhaust. Number one, filter on the intake, and a micron filter on the outlet where you go to the splitter to make sure there's no sediment or debris going into your airlines. Also, very important, you should use food safe lines for all this, because there's no chemicals and stuff in it that you might be breathing. All right, but that's my quick little tutorial on what we're using, and it's a lot of fun. But again, make sure oilless compressor. so you don't absorb any petroleum-based products into your lungs and, you know, kill yourself. It's not a good thing. But this has been a great little unit we built, and you know, with the tanks, it acts like an air reserve. I don't know, but be safe. I do not recommend this again, and but I thought I'd share what I'm doing. All right, y'all have a good day. You'll see this in action soon.